balloons! They're everywhere! That's the most dangerous thing that could ever happen! Certainly more dangerous than poison in your drinking water! That's why the mainstream media should focus on, balloons, balloons! Now for a drink of some delicious poison. You're just like your father! Hello there, you 6 million awakening wonders. Thanks for joining me on this voyage towards freedom. And by freedom, I mean your right to determine who you are, where you go, and how you run your community. Turn on the notification bell and subscribe to this channel right now, because the mainstream media content will always be prioritized over independent media like this, where we rely on you for your attention and our shared connection. Today, we're talking about the mainstream media and the way they prioritize news stories. By now, you're aware that the Ohio train wreck has possibly caused enormous toxicity in drinking water supplies. This is not being significantly reported on or sufficiently reported on. We're also pointing out how balloons have been prioritized and favored in mainstream media reporting. Are these balloons just a distraction? Is the real disaster toxicity in your drinking water? Let's have a look at these two stories, how they compare and contrast, why certain information is prioritized, why certain information is extracted, and how your consciousness is being controlled and directed by the media machine. It's a simple business, really. Let's have a look at what Secretary of State Anthony Blinken has to say about the balloon story, a man whose surname describes what he must have been doing when that train crashed.
Do we still believe that the balloon, the surveillance balloon...
Do we still believe in the balloon? I mean, God, I can't even keep this up anymore. Listen, you're on the mainstream. Focus. Say it's a surveillance balloon. Say it's important. And for God's sake, don't mention that everyone's water's got poison in it.
Over the continental United States was an intentional act? Or do you believe that part of it was an accident?
So there is no doubt in our minds at all that A, this was a surveillance balloon, and B, it was attempting to engage in active surveillance.
And C, it was an evil balloon. I think a terrorist one. The US is reportedly examining the possibility that the Chinese spy balloon was pushed off course by strong winds when it entered US airspace, with strong winds blowing it south over the border. The deviation has prompted analysts to explore whether China meant for it to enter US airspace. So the whole thing might have been an accident, literally caused by the wind. So this is a story about hot air blown around by cool air. That doesn't really sound evil enough, does it? A White House official has admitted 3 unidentified objects shot down by US fighter jets since Friday may turn out to be balloons connected to benign commercial or research efforts. So that just means they shot down, essentially, balloons. It might as well have been the Goodyear blimp or Phileas Fogg or that little kid from Up. Nevertheless, just to be on the safe side, blow it up with a $400,000 missile, I'd say.
I gave the order to take down these 3 objects.
He's so pleased with himself. I gave the order to take down these harmless, inoffensive balloons. This is the level we've literally reached. The US president is a man who has the authority to take down a balloon, but not to take down your drug prices.
A group of balloon enthusiasts, teens, dads, and grandpas,
Joe Biden refers to that group of octogenarians as pesky scamps and youngsters,
say they believe their $12 balloon, just like the one in this photo, was the balloon shot down over Alaska by a $400,000 missile.
That doesn't seem like good use of your taxpayer dollars. $12 balloon, $400,000 missile. Anyway, $12 balloon or not, it's definitely the most important story in America right now. It's not as if there's been a terrible, terrible chemical spillage literally into your water that you need to stay alive.
Tonight, growing skepticism in East Palestine, despite the Norfolk Southern Railway CEO pledging to earn the Ohio Village fragile trust.
Deeply sorry. He's just trying to sell you on the depth of his apology. I'm going to give you an apology now, and it actually goes right down here to beneath my asshole, which I'm shitting out of, into your water.
Shelby Walker lives within feet of the train tracks. She says in the last 2 weeks, she, her daughter, and grandchildren have been dealing with eye infections, sore throats, and headaches.
Could it be COVID? Putin? The balloon?
This morning on This Week, environmental experts told Martha Raddatz the equipment used to monitor the chemicals isn't helpful enough.
We've got some equipment for you, ma'am. Is it helpful enough? No. We've also got this $12 balloon. Mayday! Mayday! Blow that son of a bitch down! Hunter!
It doesn't tell us what chemicals are present. It just says they're below some level. There's plenty of chemicals that can be created from that fire that can be toxic at much lower levels.
Could we get that black cloud of smoke, put it in a maybe $12 balloon, tie it up, float up in there, then blow the son of a bitch up with a missile?
Bottom line, would you move back to East Palestine if you were living there?
I have 2 little boys. I would not.
Good news, everyone. The train derailment and chemical spill in Ohio has highlighted just how bizarre such a focus on perceived external national security threats has become. The far greater threat may be from within. Perfect metaphor in many ways. We're continually distracted and invited to think that there is a foreign invader or threat, whether it's terrorists, the Cold War, or even germs on some occasions, when the real threat is the fact that we live in a deeply corrupt and hypocritical society where political parties and corporate interests that transcend national boundaries have such deeply entrenched interests that democracy is redundant and meaningless. While they're telling you to look up in the sky for Superman or a balloon or whatever, they are down on the ground, spilling chemicals into your water and exchanging large sums of money to keep things the way they are. East Palestine residents were told the municipal water was safe to drink, but also advised to buy bottled water. It's safe to drink, but maybe, you might not want to put it in your mouth and use your esophagus to swallow it down. Instead, go to a store and buy water that may not have chemicals in it. No reason though, just for fun. And many have complained of rashes after they shower. Nothing to worry about there. Residents were told they only had vinyl chloride to fear. It's only vinyl chloride? That sounds fucking terrifying. That sounds like what happened to Venom, covered with some sort of awful black lacquer and that your teeth are gonna go all pointy. I know, I'd recommend some bottled water. Drink bottled water, but your tap water is fine, straight from the faucet. Sorry, are you giving me a coded message? No, I also think the water causes twitching. Then the list of dangerous chemicals spilled by the train grew. What, on its own? Or were they always on it? Oh no, you know that list we gave you? Yeah, we didn't put some of the things on it. So here's the real list. You bastards! Federal agencies may not release the full list of chemicals for months. Why not? Probably because we'll be so excited about that list of chemicals that we'll all go crazy and jump into the sea and start shooting down balloons without government authorization. Oh, you thought that the list of chemicals would be really toxic and worrying and would cause you to lose faith in your government and their regulatory agencies? That list of chemicals were a surprise for your birthday and you've ruined it. You're just like that Chinese balloon thing that's definitely from China. Oh God, is there anything in this? Anyway, this is just a one-off. Most rivers aren't full of deadly poisons. Most of America's waterways are likely contaminated by toxic PFAs, forever chemicals. A new study conducted by US waterkeepers finds. Don't make it sound nice. We're forever chemicals. That's why you'll be infertile. Your children will be infertile. You're not going to have any. The Waterkeepers Alliance analysis found detectable PFAS levels in 95 out of 114, or 83%, of waterways tested across 34 states and the District of Columbia, and frequently at levels that exceed federal and state limits. Okay, so most water is polluted with forever chemicals, which doesn't sound like very good news unless you're another chemical and you're lonely. Hold on a minute, we don't know what PFAS are. They may not be that bad. Sounds nice. PFAS. Let's see what they are. PFASs are linked to cancer. Oh. And liver problems. Oh. And thyroid issues. Okay, well, it's just me. And birth defects. Oh. Kidney disease. Decreased immunity. Is that the end of the list? There's just one more thing on the list. Other serious health problems. When are we going to get that list? We'll release the list when we're ready. Previous analyses have used municipal utility data to estimate that the chemicals are contaminating drinking water for over 200 million people. That's nearly everyone. Lax regulation allows industrial users to discharge the chemicals into the environment largely unchecked. Landfills, airports, military bases, paper mills, and wastewater treatment plants are among common sources. We're destroying the land, we're destroying the water, we're not going to do anything about it because it's simply not profitable. Regulators and utilities have been slow to address PFAS contamination in part because of cost. EPA has proposed designating PFOS and PFOA as hazardous substances, which could force industry to fund cleanups for those compounds, but not the other 33 found in the study, or thousands more that exist. That will leave it up to taxpayers to cover those cleanup costs. So they make the profits, you do the cleaning up. And that's freedom. But not bad freedom, good freedom. In response to the Ohio disaster, government and railway officials decided to burn off the vinyl chloride, effectively dumping 1.1 million pounds of the chemical into the local community, according to a new lawsuit. Officials said that they did so to avert the vinyl chloride from exploding. In contrast, an attorney for the lawsuit has said that the decision was cheap, unsafe, and more interested in restoring train service and appeasing railway shareholders than protecting local residents. Oh no, that doesn't sound right. No, not these guys that profit while getting taxpayers to fund the cleanups. Even just to the untrained ear, blowing stuff up, that's always the solution. Whether it's Vladimir Putin or these chemicals, just blow it up. everything will be okay. Who's to say that what comes down in all of the ashes and acid rain won't be good for us and make us into superheroes? Norfolk Southern basically nuked a town with chemicals to get a railroad open, a former hazmat technician told a local news outlet. It certainly seems like a company with a $55 billion market cap chose to sacrifice the health of thousands of people to keep its profits flowing. Unlike the river, which won't be flowing because it's full of stinking brown sludge. It's just another way of taking the temperature of the way that our systems operate. When there's the requirement for a decision to be made, the factors that are most important are profit, not the health of ordinary people. Whenever this system works for you, it's by accident. Oh, look, I got a new phone, but it benefits the system in loads and loads of ways. Oh, I'm eating this food, but it benefits the system in loads of ways. Your life, your well-being, your experience of reality is irrelevant. You are a blob of commodity, just dumped there to consume. If ever your interests are at odds with their interests, you are fucked. That's what I've been learning over the course of running this channel. Let me know what you think in the chat in the comments. The situation demands immediate action from President Biden. Without it, thousands of people, including children and the elderly, fuck them, and animals, will be at continued risk of premature death. Biden must declare a state of emergency and create an independent task force to take over the remediation of this eco-catastrophe. That's the sort of thing he'll do. Norfolk's response to this crisis so far comes from a time-tested corporate strategy. Manage the situation as a public relations challenge and not the humanitarian and ecological catastrophe that it is. That doesn't sound familiar. Government is supposed to protect us from the excesses of industry. Instead, it often acts like its partner. That's because the government and corporate interests are partners. If you don't know that yet, then you've not been listening. An environmental disaster that affects the American working class. I remember Biden from his campaigning. He cares about the environment, doesn't he? He can't get close enough to Greta Thunberg, and not just to sniff her hair. And he really cares about workers. He's the best worker president there's ever going to be or ever has been. Arms cuddling around. So this is it. Joe Biden, you'll save it. Joe! Oh, Joe! A looming Supreme Court decision could end up making it easier for the railroad giant, whose train derailed in Ohio this month, to block lawsuits, including from victims of the disaster. There's no precedent for that. I don't remember big corporations being granted indemnity from any of the consequences of their actions in the case against Norfolk Southern, the Biden administration is siding with the railroad in its conflict with a cancer-stricken former rail worker. Great, the railroad. This is the founding fathers all over. They'd love this. Who are you going to stand with? Big corporation or cancer-stricken former rail worker? A high court ruling for Norfolk Southern could create a national precedent limiting where workers and consumers can bring cases against corporations. No, Biden, not on your watch. Surely, Joe, say it ain't so. Limiting lawsuits is exactly what the American Association of Railroad, the industry's primary lobbying group, wants. It is also apparently what the Biden administration wants. The Justice Department filed its own brief in favour of Norfolk Southern. Oh, so the Biden administration supports Norfolk Southern, not the potentially sick people, not the environment, not railroad workers, not the vulnerable. Nothing they said while campaigning is true. That's why I didn't get all excited like it was some sort of big deal. Such a decision could affect lawsuits filed by residents exposed to hazardous chemicals as the result of accidents in other states, such as the East Palestine, Ohio derailment disaster, which occurred 5 miles west of the Pennsylvania state line. Curious that at a time like this, a precedent might be established that would prevent forthcoming lawsuits, but that must just be some kind of coincidence, because I know that Joe Biden cares about the environment and cares about workers, not about corporations and giving them an easy ride, which is not what those chemicals got, and we still haven't seen the full list of them. So it's easy to conclude then that America is a country that supports corporations while claiming to care about workers and the environment, but when they get the perfect opportunity to show that they care about the environment by, for example, dealing with an environmental disaster successfully and succinctly, they don't do it. So does that mean then when they're talking about climate change and all that stuff, it's kind of bollocks? No, it can't mean that. We'd have to lose our faith in the system to come to that conclusion, and that's something that I've not done years ago when I was about 12. Hey, but that's just what I think. Let me know what you think in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, have a look at either of these. They're equally good. Watch our content that we make every day. Turn on the notification bell and subscribe. The mainstream media will feed their pipeline of crap into your mind uninterrupted because the algorithm is nay your friend, my brethren out there. More important than any of that is that you please stay free.